Hi guys, today we're going to see if this $25 book can really help you reduce prep, run better games, and be a better world builder. Full disclosure, I wrote it, so this is not going to be a review, but hopefully just by going through it and showing you what's inside and the design intention behind it, you'll be able to decide if it's a good investment for you. Okay, I'm going to test my technical abilities now and try and get a top-down view so that we can have a look, crack this open and take a better look. Okay, top-down view sorted. I'll quickly talk us through the back of the book since that tells us everything that's inside the tome. That is 30 full-color hand-drawn maps. You can see 3 examples here. More than 100 colorful PCs and 30 new monsters. They're within the stories I created for the maps. A comprehensive design your own location toolkit. That's chapter 1, where I really talk you through the techniques you're going to need to make your own extraordinary locations. Roller coaster adventure paths. These link some of the locations together so you can play a whole campaign out of the box. Free digital map pack. All of these are available online for free with this purchase. 2 versions actually, a GM version and a player version. So you're sorted for VTT play, system versatility, optimized for 5th edition play. Basically, all the stat blocks 5e based on the 2014 edition. But I think if you're an experienced GM, you're not going to have any problem using this material for any fantasy RPG. Okay, let's flip her over and take a look inside. Some nice words by Justin Alexander, Will Earl from D&D Shorts, and some of your other favorite YouTubers, Professor DM. Okay, here's your table of contents for the entire book. As you can see, most of it's taken up by terrain-focused chapters, city, rural, island, forest, all the way to desert. And then you've got the introductory chapter where we actually talk about design locations. So each of these terrain chapters contains 3 to 6 individual locations. Foreword by Ed Greenwood. He talks about his experience working on Middle-earth, Oz, and of course the Forgotten Realms. So the first of the location chapters is city locations. A favourite of mine. There's so much adventure potential in a fantasy city that often doesn't get realised. So I really wanted to design tools that really help GMs get that across and have a lot of fun whenever they're in an urban environment. This is the Fallen Idol Tavern and Guild. I designed this to be the perfect cozy tavern. There's also a place to pick up adventure hook, get in some scraps with rival adventurers and rivaling adventure parties who you might compete with on monster kill quests, racking up points, etc. There's a bunch of services for adventurers here. So overall, it's a starter base with a couple of little twists. There's the ghost of a headmistress, because this used to be a school which has been converted into a tavern and guild. And that headmistress hates it when people use foul language, so she slaps you across the chops and digs a gold coin out of your pocket, which could be a fun thing to do with players, especially those who've accidentally given too much gold. So you can even create a swear box. So there you go. There's my adventurous base location. Squares are the heart of most medieval cities, but we don't get many great square maps, in my opinion, or at least that I've seen. So hopefully this one, which is based on my experience actually living in Poland, where there's a lot of towns with really beautiful market squares. Hopefully this does the trick. Each of these markets sells different goods. In fact, one of them is a rotating market, so you might have a book fair there, or a weapons fair. You've got a town hall where you've got records that you might need to consult. There's another tavern here for picking up more quests. This is the clock tower that has a teleportation circle. In fact, it's called the plane shifting clock tower because the whole clock tower teleports away whenever you use it. But no one notices because it goes back in time in order to arrive back where you left it. So no one really notices that high-level adventurers are being sent off on quests. The tower just flickers slightly. This was a really difficult map to design, so hopefully it's useful. So all of these locations are adventure locations. What do I mean by that? It means you can turn up and there is adventure waiting for you here. It's not just you go by to talk to the girls at the flower stall, though there is a loudmouth gossiper at the flower stall where you can pick up some rumours. To show you what I mean, I'll turn to this section of the chapter where you get 5 quest hooks. Snakes on a plaza. So a cult has released some snakes in order to terrorize the community. So yeah, you have to deal with them. Guards needed for the amber trail. That's actually a quest hook where you pick up in a tavern. Turn the pigeons back into knights. This is actually an adventure that takes place on the square. You've got to round up the pigeons and turn them back into heroic knights so that they can defend the city from a coming threat. I think I suggest as well that the players actually have to hop around and coo like pigeons. Otherwise, the magic's simply not going to work, right? Sticking with cities, the Flying Ballroom Palace is my tool for running social events. Social events can be really tricky to run. They can fall flat. Nothing can happen. My solution to that is a lot of gardens with a lot of things going on, like a croquet lawn, a giant chess set, a maze, a menagerie, is that how you pronounce that? A boating lake, and yeah, some herbal gardens. So yeah, plenty of spaces to explore, but the real trick is the Fey Stone, which you touch and you get a magic effect that stays with you the whole night. For example, you turn into a centaur version of yourself, or your body becomes covered in tiger stripes and you roar at the end of every sentence. That was a good one. One of my players rolled that, and it was quite fun. You're incapable of answering questions truthfully. You develop the sense of humor of a 13-year-old schoolboy. Everything is a sexual innuendo to you. So yeah, this was a difficult one. You can be talking rhyming couplets. There's 20 of them, and they're all pretty fun, and they're definitely going to make sure your social occasions are elevated from the norm, let's say. As with all the locations, there are some specific, I call them adventure ideas. You could call them adventure seeds, I guess. So, win over a noble during a gala. Sometimes we don't include enough intrigue missions in our Dungeons & Dragons. It all devolves into combat. So, this is an opportunity to really throw a social quest at people. Another quest is steal the dwarf chef's cookbook. The prince that lives at this palace as the best chef in the city, so yeah, a lot of people would like to get their hands on his recipes. As always with these locations, you can insert your own NPCs, but my goal was to make sure DMs have as little to do as possible if they just want to drop one of these locations into their adventures. Okay, here is one of my favourite locations in the entire books. It was really difficult to design this map. There's a reason why people normally default to drawing squares, blockish square buildings and dungeons, is because they map nicely to the grid and are really easy to draw. So this one was a bit of a challenge, but I think I got to a good place in the end. I didn't realize the final design, of course. That's way beyond my skills. That was done by an amazing cartographer called Arturo, aka Nerdy Maps. I'll stick a link in the description, but yeah, check out his work. He's done some amazing stuff, not just on this book, but I believe he's worked with Wizard of the Coast and Netflix and many places. So yeah, we're getting 30 full-page maps with this book. This is one of my favorites. The theme here is snakes, obviously, and one of my favorite features is you can get a relaxing massage from an anaconda, which squeezes the tension out of your body in this Pythonarian area. So nearly all of the locations in this book are standalone locations. The idea is that you can copy and paste them into your adventure without having to worry about anything else. Most of the lore, nearly all of the lore is self-contained, or you can fiddle around and create your own lore. This is actually an exception because having decided that this baths are run by like a serpentine cult, I felt like I was selling DMs short a bit if I didn't as well include a kind of headquarters for them. So actually, this waterfall becomes the lazy river of these baths, which then goes underground and deposits you in this cistern underground, from where, if you follow the chalk markings, you might locate the hidden entrance to this shrine of the Great Asp, where you've got a kind of Conan the Barbarian style cult happening, and there's different ways to infiltrate this shrine and maybe rescue someone, maybe steal an item, or maybe even, if you're powerful enough, deal with the threat of the cult. That was another design intention of mine, that these locations don't really have a specific level attached to them. It's up to GMs to decide how to deploy them. And this goes back to each location having 4 or 5 adventure ideas with them. Some of them will be out of range for your first level party, but others might be possible for a treat with a god, for example. Okay, you don't have to actually take out this avatar of a serpentine god. You just have to brave their aura in order to do a dirty deal with them. So by including non-violent adventure ideas, as well as ones that require combat, I think any of these locations can more or less be applied to any level, which makes them as versatile as possible. That was my goal at least. Okay, here's an example of an adventure path. These adventure paths essentially link some of the locations in the book together to create a longer adventure or mini campaign. In this particular instance, the players are at a gala at the Flying Ballroom Palace when they hear a rumour that the king has been poisoned. They're going to have to travel to the Celestial Sanatorium in order to resurrect him. But to get there, they're going to need an experienced crew, such as the pirates that run the Four Coins Fort Casino. So, in this way, GMs can use some of the material in this book and join it together to create a longer storyline, hopefully saving them plenty of prep in the process. There's actually 5 or 6 of these adventure paths, but in addition, I've provided some guidance on how to create your own, and it's actually quite a lot of fun trying to link these different locations together, because it brings out a lot of creativity and ideas. Forest locations are always useful in my experience because they're kind of the default fantasy terrain. Have you ever run bandits, but they just kind of appear from the woods and then disappear into nowhere, and there's not much backstory behind them? Well, here we go. Here's a kind of bandits hideout in a disused quarry that's now flooded with this kind of turquoise water, and the bandits live in caves around the quarry from where they launch their attacks, one of which could take place on let me find it. One of which could take place on the Path of the Menhirs, which I actually specifically designed for ambushes because you've got a couple of choke points here and some higher terrain for bandits to hide behind. And if you've ever tried to shoot someone who's lying prone and behind 3/4 cover, you'll know that even the humble bandit can be quite a threat. Now, while my principal design goal was to provide a perfect scene for an ambush, in each of these maps I've always provided extra toys for GMs to use how they wish. For example, here's a small hermitage with a grumpy hermit who can sell healing potions or give advice on the local area. Here are some mystical menhirs with a somewhat obscured history. Are they the relics of dwarven gods, or are they kind of giant goalposts which were used for some kind of game in the era of giants? Who knows? There's some ruins of a castle here where I placed a monster, but you can switch that out for anything you like. And in general, the idea is that these maps become versatile tools for the GM to use how they wish. But what's better than giving GMs 30 locations to play with? It's helping them create their own awesome locations. We GMs love creating our own stuff, and I think this chapter will be of use to even experienced GMs. I really break down every aspect of what a location might include. How does the local geography affect it? What type of building materials are we talking about? Who built the location? Does it have a theme that we can really go to town with? Here I provide a list of epithets which I think could inspire a lot of fun ideas at your table. For example, we have gloomy temple of heretics. One of my favorite tips is thinking about what condition a building is in versus how it was originally designed. Obviously, ruined is a big one in Dungeons and Dragons, but burnt down or invaded or flooded or sunken or buried or infested or never finished or repurposed can all take one concept and turn it into 10 different locations. The cherry on the cake of any cool location is a distinguishing feature, and here I've provided 20 general features. For example, being rude is considered polite here and vice versa, or you must drink a potion of gaseous form before entering, or everyone in the area can read the minds of others as if everyone continually casts detect thoughts. That could be amusing, I think. Or here we have, you must take a vow of silence before entering. Here we have questions are forbidden and punished by fines, expulsion, or lashes. Or tips or bribes are expected during every single NPC interaction. So those 20 can really spice up how a location plays at your table. But they're not the only 20 I provided, because there's actually a list of distinguishing features in each of the chapters. So while each environment-themed chapter includes several locations to be found in that environment or terrain, each chapter actually starts with some specific design advice towards that terrain. So here we could think about types of city monuments. I tried to put some less obvious ones here, like abattoir, customs house, or factory, or orphanage. And here we have another list of distinguishing features, each of which is more closely tied to the terrain type. Here, the city, cats are sacred here. If one sits on the king's throne, the king must stand. But if we go to, let's say, desert locations, it will be the dunes here sing and their song is mesmerizing. Or an aardvark talks in riddles that, if solved, reveal vast secrets. Some say the animal is a sphinx in disguise. So we're going for a more desert theme, obviously, with this particular list. Okay, I think that about covers everything included in the book. If you see it in the store, pick it up yourself, leaf through it, and see what you think. Otherwise, of course, it's available on Amazon and all of those typical online places. I put a lot of work into this book to make it the best resource I could offer for games masters and the most versatile resource I could make, because there's a lot of books on my shelf that don't get used. And I really worked hard to make this a book that you're going to pick up and get amazing value from. Whether you want to save some prep time and drop something into your next session, or whether you want to build a longer campaign, or you want to flesh out your own world with cool new locations, I think you're going to get some decent value from this book. That's it from me. I'll leave some links in the description so you can find out more, and hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, don't have a dice, but let's keep rolling.